Good morning.
Good morning, Lila.
Oh, good. You can hear. Okay.
Yep, we're good.
If you turn off of X right at Lisa's until.
See, and mine isn't the only one that turned blue, so,
That come out of the best hole.
well,
Mine at home, I let someone use, that's still the original color.
I just want to let everyone know that we are streaming, we have video on, and audio is going.
We're gonna spend about $1 million in Buck B in the next 2 years. Replacing a little bridge.
Oh,
That's ridiculous.
just half funded.
Hmm?
That's half funded.
No, it's all funded. We're gonna spend it. Not ours.
We're gonna-
You couldn't justify it if we had to pay.
Yes. Are you putting in a box culvert?
Huh?
Putting in a box cover or a bridge?
Bridge.
Oh, great.
I don't realize why it's gotta be such a. They say it's a trout stream, nobody's caught a trout in there in 50 years.
Okay.
Okay, I guess it's 9 o'clock. We'll get started. Okay, this meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin statutes so that the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Okay, roll call. Looks like everybody's here. As Lila's on Zoom. And the rest of us are all here. Anybody reviewed the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
No, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next we'll go on to the previous meeting minutes of October 23rd.
Motion to accept.
I'll second it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And I guess we're down to correspondence.
I don't have any.
Then go down to your report, Chris.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I have a couple of updates that I'll share with you. Gonna go a little out of order just because that's how I wrote them down on my piece of paper, but just a couple things as far as staffing. The week after Thanksgiving, Jessica Beckendorf formally resigned from her community development position. She's been working on a contract project. She has accepted, I think, a very similar role to what she was doing, but it's a formal position, which then officially created a vacancy. And so that that met one of the criteria that we needed. So I'm working with the program manager, and hopefully either by late this week or very early next week, we'll have the paperwork submitted so that that position will be posted in a full-time capacity shortly after the first of the year. So I'll let folks know, so that if you happen to know somebody, word of mouth is usually the best form of recruitment. Also this morning, you're going to get a chance to hear from Amy, who has been doing some extraordinary backfill to keep some program continuity within the community. So I think that that position is going to be poised for, we're in a good spot. So that's good there. So I'm looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to, sometimes you kind of dread hiring, but but other times it's like, hey, this is, it's kind of fun to see the candidates and get to know the pool, the pool and things like that. Which also means, if there is somebody who wishes, and this includes, I'm looking at those in the room, but I'm also want to include Lila, that when we get to the point, we'll need somebody, or I would like to ask somebody from this committee to be on the search and screen, or to be portions of the search and screen to help identify the candidate that will be the best fit here. So if there are any, I'm gonna let that sit out there. If there's anybody who's interested, the sooner that I know that you're interested, the sooner I will, you'd be kept in the loop as far as how things are, as far as how we know, as far as the process and applicant materials and those things. So so if there is somebody who is interested, either a Dennis, as a chair, sometimes you're the first ask, but I also know that we've spread it around a little bit too. So maybe we'll follow up as we get later in the meeting. We'll follow up. I'll let you think on that. Probably, if it's going to get posted the 1st January, it's going to be probably in that February timeframe by the time we post it, and do that by the time we start to do interviews and doing the screening. So the other thing I wanted to let you know that we're still working. Tiffany is still out on extended leave. She's trying to really work hard to improve her health and be able to come back. We working with HR and other associated departments. If there is an opportunity where it looks like it's going to be an extended, a continued extended leave, which we're hoping it's not, that we would try to find some interim coverage similar to the role that Amy was playing for community development, to just ensure some program continuity. I'm actually meeting later this week. I'm meeting with Melissa Anderson with ADRC to see with their programmatic change, being a standalone unit that's not connected with Outagamie or Calumet. There are some HDR, human development and relationship opportunities to help support their programming that aligns with extension programming as well. So we're continuing to move things forward as best we can with what we have. So I will continue to keep you in the loop if there's any changes, but we've kind of been in a holding pattern a little bit. The other just note in this as a reminder, Macy Popple has been in our office. So with Amy being having part of her time being allocated to the community development, Macy Popple has been in our front office as a program assistant. She's been doing a great job, and so that she may be the first person you see if you pop in. She also may be the individual that answers the phone or replies to an email message if you send it. So just wanted to remind you that Macy's in our office. She's doing a great job. We appreciate the time that she's being able to give us and the flexibility with some of the adjustments of schedules. So, any questions on any of the staff items that I shared? Yep.
Jessica's now, is that gonna be a Waupaca County only, or are we gonna share with another county?
So it is gonna be a Waupaca County only position. So it will be focused. there will be, on the community needs, well, not totally scoped out, the initial focus is going to be, community engagement, and organizational, leadership development. It actually is connected to us, is what parts of what Jessica was doing, but also the work that Amy was doing in the needs assessment, or in her needs assessment, which is not a formal one, but she kind of did the environmental scan. She did an environmental scan. And that's where there's the opportunities is for our, well, I'm gonna pause and I'll let Amy talk about that, and she'll do it a lot better in a little bit when it's her turn. But yeah, it will be Waupaca County only, at this point. There is a possibility that if there were a vacancy, 5-10 years down the road, the Community Development Institute is looking at, having individuals who are housed in county offices, but they would be part of a bigger team focused on, some of these core programs, and kind of work in teams of 3 and 4, or whatever the numbers are, and then they would engage with counties, and they would have a network connection, but there would still be individuals that would be residing in county offices, but they would also be affiliated with some statewide programmatic efforts. So that's down the road. That's not, well, I don't know. We haven't seen, there's discussion. There's not even a proposal or a plan or anything that has been placed. So
No clarity on what the position is gonna be. I mean, the duties.
yes, yeah, it's gonna be like community organization development and community engagement. So how to get the back and forth, of community members, so residents of Waupaca County, and how to get them connected and engaged to their communities. And that could be either through like civic engagement, or like through organizational engagement, which then there's loads of research that shows that the stronger community organizations are, and all of those, think Lions clubs, church groups, coalitions, they are, then the stronger that the community overall is. So that's what the thread, where the theme is. There's currently only one. There is currently only one county cohort-based leadership program run by Extension in the state of Wisconsin. So the transition has been that has been a service or an opportunity that chambers of commerce or other organizations have taken on as a member benefit to their membership. So, but there are connections to statewide programs and opportunities to bring in those types of speakers and engage individuals. What Extension has been doing is that they have done they had some success with what would be called a local government academy, where it would be individuals from across the geographic area that would be active in public service, that would look at how could their roles in the public service, how could they connect, how could they continue to engage in the community. So I think it's kind of exciting for what we've got going, for what's going on here in Waupaca County. And I realized I said I was going to shut up and let you go, but I
mean, you covered a lot of my talking points.
well, it'll be a good I primed the
It'll be a
pump.
good recap.
I primed the pump.
Yes, thank you.
So a couple of other things, just an FYI. So still, it was a tumultuous few days. So we still, I know I had given you an update on the pay plan increase at the state level, and we're still no further ahead, even though there was optimism, and then there was no longer optimism with the happenings that we have appointed and elected officials who are just not agreeing, and so we're just plugging away because that's about all we can do. The other item. Or another item, just a thank you to Penny. Penny sat in. There was a department head presentation or meeting presentation last Wednesday in which Jim, who's the consultant from Dimension 4, presented their initial proposal or initial plan. So Penny attended, asked lots of questions. As a staff, we have been having some initial conversations. At this point, it looks like we are preparing to move to the lower level, and we are going to dust off our notes, our team notes, because the last time that there was discussion about us going to the lower level, we developed a lot of needs, or as far as a space, or what we would need in a space. And the next planned event is Penny and I are meeting with the architects on January 8th to then sketch out the schematics of what the space, what we can and can't do with the space that's provided, or that's right now allocated towards us. So that's what we know. So, and Penny, can you remind me? So, I mean, just as a discussion point, what was the tally of the walk-ins and customer traffic that?
We've been keeping track for quite a while on the number of people that come into our office as far as like serving the public. And that includes coming in to purchase a plat book, purchase a water test kit, do a soil test, along with also visiting food-wise, 4-H, CRD, family living, coming in with, still ag questions and everything else. And this calendar year so far, we had 555 people come into our office. And that some people, like, we forget or miss tallying it, so that's what was tallied. But that was the total that we had this year, was over 550 public people that have come into our office for a large variety of reasons.
So part of the thing that we need to consider, because the next step is looking at the schematic of the space provided, that we do need to keep in mind that we're good, that some type of a reception or welcoming space is important. The other thing that's outside of our space that that is with that number of individuals that we have to be critical is that wayfinding is going to be essential. Because if we have that many individuals, they have to be able to find our place, our space, or there has to be staff that are going to be present to help, or that are going to be willing and present to be able to help guide people, because that's a lot of people to say, oh, where is this, and then provide the down the stairs or down the elevator directions.
So Ken and I are on the public property committee, and I'm on the committee for the facilities study and helping with the security portion of it. So when we looked at the numbers of people, we also looked at who was using it. So the plan right now is for this area that you guys occupy. We're gonna have the ARDC move in there and the veterans move in there so that it's a little easier for them to get in. And then one of our main goals is to make sure that people know where to go and that you guys are secure in your part of it, because you never know what's going to happen. So the whole building is getting that overview, and that's why they're having those meetings. Right now it's just a big blob on the drawing. This is where you guys are going. Now that next meeting is going to start to break that down on where and how you guys want that.
Yeah.
Room to look. And we were able to give you more square footage, so hopefully that helps out.
Yeah, we just are also gonna have to work through hauling stuff. Because we host very few programs here. And in some cases, we have large amounts of stuff that the logistics of that will need to be considered. And when matched with the increased safety, security is just, it's gonna add a significant amount of time to the day of our
Security
staff.
is always inconvenient.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and right now, even if every entrance was, it just the efficiency will be reduced even if there was no additional security, so. So that's what I have on any of our space. And we still have a couple offices that we're gonna put paint on because there's still a long time before we need to pack boxes. So we're still gonna do a couple minor upgrades, not upgrades, but just some routine maintenance within our current space because it's gonna be a bit. So that's what I have, but I would be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
one more thing that the committee is doing, we're trying to determine if it's going to be a 3-year project or a 5-year project. So 3 years, substantially cheaper than dragging it out over 5 years. But more inconvenience, as it's all happening at the same time, so.
Yeah, because they had shared like, half of one floor, while half of another floor would be
Yeah,
work done and.
yeah,
Everybody's gotta realize that if you're gonna fix the restrooms in the basement, they gotta go all the way to the top, all the restrooms gotta be done at the same time. Okay, that's pretty much how the phase is gonna work. I mean, they're not gonna do just the basement one. You know, I mean, it's gotta all, and that's why the 3 years is a huge cost savings versus the 5 year. I don't know what the hell.
One question that you can maybe answer, well, and I can ask Jim too at our meeting, but. With a move to the lower level. Does that, I'm assuming, we would be pretty early in that process so that we can get out of where we are? Or like, will we have to go somewhere temporary?
well, that's what we're all trying to pull together, because finance is gonna be done.
They told us Labor Day.
Well, they're gonna start. If we can get it through the full board, what we need to do so that they can start in January. But then
That's just
what is
one-
the next,
just
that's just
section.
one section, so then are we gonna do, we have to decide, is that what we're gonna do, the whole lower level? And then get everything prepared there, and then everything that's. When it's done, move that down, and then the people that have moved, then is that the next section, or? And some of it is like, critical needs, like, the health department. They wanna expand their lab and make it a real lab, like not have carpeting when you're doing water samples. Stuff like that, so that's all, we're in that process, so is it gonna be a floor by floor phase, or is it gonna be left side, right side phase, or how, so it's all up in the air right now.
I have a question. Is each department gonna have the level of security that finance is being put in?
That's the goal. That's the.
Even
goal.
though the front entrance is gonna be state of the art? Top of the line?
Yep.
Well, it's gonna be, we don't know if, I wouldn't say top of the line, because it gets pretty expensive there.
When it.
Well, it sounds pretty.
Well,
Well,
I'm like-
but the thing is,
Okay.
no, I brought this up, I'll just reiterate it to you people. That my wife was on jury duty. And she got out of here, I thought it was 5:15, what do you mean 5:15? It was 5:45. So she come out of jury duty. Walmart parking lot is lit up better than our county parking lot. And you're letting jurors out there. Huh? I mean, that's a wake up call.
Yet the back
Oh, we-
has,
I don't
Less
think we can
life.
afford that. I don't think we can, all the gaming, I guess.
Yeah,
is
we
gonna-
walk out in the parking lot. all
Are
the
you,
time.
oh, you go to all the
Pitch
gaming,
black.
don't you?
What's that?
Don't you go to all the gaming court office?
Every once in a while, yeah.
Is it, I heard that was pretty complex.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, now, I was in Calumet, I wasn't on the gaming, but Dwayne Fredericks. I can see his name. Can I? I'm sorry. He said that, no, Calumet is. Not as tough to get in as our gaming, okay? You know, there's a level 1, 2, and 3 for security. We have none.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so that's still up in the air too. There's gonna be security there. The front entrance is going to be modified. I forget what it's called, but the architectural, security by architectural design. We're gonna be using a lot of that. The big debate is, are we going to use AI more, or are we gonna use people to do the checks and stuff like that? So that's where we can't tell you what it's gonna look like, but it will be better. That's really tired cop. I want it better.
Yeah. And as somebody who works in this building too, I would appreciate seeing security as a person more often, and I think that makes an impact.
Yeah.
And an impression, and you know, it, both would be great.
Yeah, so
Both would be great.
the way I look at it is the front entrance where everybody comes through. It's sort of gonna be like TSA. Nobody likes going through that. But then on the other side of that, you have all the McDonald's and Starbucks and stuff in the airports. So it's the people past that make the experience, not having to get through the security.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that once they get past the inconvenience, that their experiences here is a good one, even though nobody ever comes to the courthouse on a good day. I mean,
Hey.
marriage license, you know what I mean? For the most part,
Nutrition.
you guys go out and talk to them, you know what I mean? It's a,
well, there's a lot of 4-H volunteers that come
Right.
here.
Yeah.
we're having that discussion
For
too.
good
How do we make
reasons.
sure that those programs after hours are just as secure?
Well, and even during the day, I'm talking, like,
Yeah.
Right.
cause that tally that we had, 4-H had 160 people come in this year during the day into our office, so.
So it's gonna be a deep dive into what will work best for us and still provide the customers with a good experience. So that you guys, I think employees, if they're relaxed and comfortable and know that it's a safe environment, are gonna be able to project that with the people they're dealing with too. If you know that if they've gotten to your door, everything's good. So,
And I certainly wanna clarify, like, I wasn't discrediting, the building needs security,
yeah,
period.
yeah.
I was just curious if it was going to be in every department in addition to that front entryway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, if that's it, then next we'll go on to educator.
All right, just give me a moment to get these, it's right there.
There we go. All right, good morning. Thanks for having me. So for my presentation, I am going to give you guys an overview of my primary program area, as well as some of the things that I've been working on in my limited term capacity with Waupaca County. Next slide. So can you minimize that top right? one over, yes, there we go. Okay, so within the Community Development Institute, there are 5 main or primary program areas. And you can see that on the screen up at the front. And my primary program area has been organizational and leadership development, the one way on the right there. But as I've been learning throughout this process that there is a lot of overlap, and I might delve into a little bit of the local government education, community economic development, but then again, coming back to my primary focus is organizational and leadership development. So one of the great things about Extension and the CDI Institute is that if I don't know the answer to something, or if I need a specialist, I am able to tap into that network of statewide employees, statewide specialists and resources, and then bring that knowledge back into the county. Next slide, please. So again, my program focus is organizational and leadership development. So I wanted to explain what that means because it can maybe look a little bit confusing at first glance. The main program focus is to build thriving and strong, resilient communities. That is why we do what we do. The idea behind this is that civic health and community participation are made up of about 3 components that when those components are strong, it leads to more people engaging in their community. So they've recognized that those 3 components are organizations, leadership, and community belonging, which I will get into all of those in a couple of slides. And you'll see this graphic repeated throughout. I did not make that graphic. I would like to take credit for it. It's very attractive, but that is just something that is adopted throughout the state. And it's going to look a little bit different county to county, but that's the overall premise of that. Next slide, please. So I am going to get into that organizational development component of civic engagement. And when I'm talking about organizations, I'm really looking at that broadly. So that could mean a nonprofit organization, for-profit organizations, churches, Lions clubs, community organizations, you get the gist. So the whole idea here is to help increase organizational capacity by helping them develop and look at a few of those things here that you see on the screen. I won't go over each one of those. But the idea is that we're looking to really help the organizations become more efficient in how they run, help them understand their vision and clarify their goals and their mission, and increase their employee or maybe it's member engagement. So all of those things can lead to giving that organization a competitive edge in the market, regardless of what their, why they exist. It could be for profit, it could be for serving the community, because a well-oiled machine, people are going to be more attracted to work there and stay there. So that's why that piece of that is important, and that's why we do that. Next slide, please. The next part of the other component of civic health and community engagement is leadership development. So when we talk about leadership development, we are looking at the intentional effort to nurture and enhance people's innate leadership skills that they already have. So we are building off their personal experiences, their passions, what they're really good at, and their existing social networks. And all of those things are intended to get them out into the community and applying those leadership skills directly. Because we can teach the skills, but having the skills is typically not enough. So you can think of it kind of like having a really skilled star player sitting on the bench. They're not going to be able to score a whole lot of points sitting there. So we encourage the leaders to get off of the bench and onto the field where they can use those skills and have the most impact in the community. Next slide. And the final one is belonging. And belonging is a very important and key part of community health, civic engagement, community participation. When you think about belonging, you can think of it as the community is a puzzle and the individual is a puzzle piece. So belonging is figuring out where you as an individual fit into that bigger puzzle. This is important because this goes back to social wellness of the individual and the community. Now, you might be familiar, it's kind of hard to see here. You might be familiar with this graphic, but this represents the 8 dimensions of well-being. And that is a framework that has been studied since, I think, the 1970s. There are multiple components that go into a person's well-being. And as you can see on the bottom left, social wellness is a very important part of that as well. These things are all interconnected. So somebody's social wellness is directly correlated to their health and their financial outcomes, how engaged they are in their communities, their emotional well-being, and things like that. If somebody has lower social wellness, then they are actually more likely to have poor physical health outcomes. They're more likely to have heart disease, stroke, and they're at a higher risk for dementia. So this wheel of wellness or wheel of well-being, you can look at that kind of like a bicycle tire or a bicycle wheel, and all of those components are the spokes. So if one of those components is wobbly or weak, that can throw the entire balance off. So that's why we try to really look at social well-being and how it looks at and ties to the overall wellness of the community. And I read a study recently, I think it was only about 45% of Americans feel like they belong to a community of any kind. So that's a big indicator that loneliness is a problem in our country, and that's what we're trying to do to address it. All right, next up. So tying it all back, what does this mean for the community? So like I was explaining before, there are really 3 pillars that enhance and improve community participation and civic health. So if people feel like they belong and they feel like they're comfortable and safe in where they work, where they live and play, they are much more likely to participate in the place that they live. So they are more likely to help their neighbors and know their neighbors. They're more likely to volunteer. They're more likely to vote and be part of the civic process, attend public meetings, and be knowledgeable about what's going on. And really the whole end goal is just to create healthy, thriving, strong communities. And that's why that is the intention with that, with the organizational and leadership development. So I gave a lot of information. Does anyone have questions about that framework before I move on to some of my work? All right, you can go to the next slide. And next slide, that was a fun filler. So one of the things that I've been involved with is everyone's aware of the Wisconsin Towns Association, I'm assuming. I won't go into a whole lot of detail if that's the case. But the Waupaca County unit has quarterly meetings, and I work directly with the chair to help facilitate some of the communications, handle the logistics, getting the meeting space ready, and interfacing with the town officials and determining who's hosting this month. Are you having lunch or supper? And finding a speaker or helping the chair give her ideas to find a speaker. So I help facilitate some of those things. Another thing that I did in August is I worked with the chair to develop an interest survey for the members. And that was to really understand what are the things that you feel are the top issues facing your towns, and what do you want to learn about? And the intention behind that was to find out those things and to help plan for the upcoming years so that people have an interest in what they're going to be learning about, so that we know who we can interact with and find as speakers, providing them with those relevant resources to effectively address local needs to Waupaca County. And you can go back really quick. I just wanted to, oh, you can stay there, that's fine. I just wanted to add a couple things on the Towns Association. They've been really well attended the last few months, and they've been, I think the last meeting had 68 people, and we were pretty packed in there into the highway facility. So very grateful for that partnership. So coming into the next item that I've been working on is You Belong. I've been part of that or working directly with that group. And they are a group in the Waupaca area that their main goal is to help create those social connections in the community and create a community where people feel like they belong. And that goes back right to that belonging component of civic participation, civic health. One thing that was really neat they did over the summer, they were able to obtain some mini grants with some community partners, and they were able to give this money to neighborhoods that wanted to host a neighborhood block party. So it might seem kind of, you know, fluffy on the outside, but actually that's a really powerful way to get to know your neighbors. Because I mean, how many people do you talk to and they say, I don't know who my neighbors are. I've never met them before. A lot of my friends do. I don't know about you, but recognizing that social wellness and loneliness is a big concern in this area and the country, this was a really, really great initiative. So neighbors could apply to get this grant, and I think it was like around $100 or $200. They had to have one other person apply with them, and the requirement is that they had to invite everybody in their neighborhood so that everybody felt like they belonged there. And they got some really great feedback. I think there were 5 or 6 of them over the summer, and they're hoping to get more of those funds to continue that next year or next summer. And there was talk about doing some fun things in the winter time too, like getting together and having an outdoor bonfire or going ice skating, whatever you can think of to do in the winter in Wisconsin. And then I am helping to facilitate some of the administration of those grants. We are working with, we're just in the very beginning phases of talking with Living the Waupaca Way. They're called Be Well Waupaca these days, to administer some of those grants locally as they are trying to become a nonprofit organization. It's just easier to obtain those funds. And you can go to the next slide. So the last piece that I'll give to you is I have been working on working with a few different community groups in the area with their process of becoming a nonprofit organization. So that's guiding them with some best practices, bringing them resources, and things of that nature. Becoming a nonprofit organization is a very nuanced process, and it can vary from organization to organization because everyone is trying to accomplish something a little bit different. So it takes a lot of insight and a lot of careful work, but it is very, very worthwhile for them to be able to increase their organizational capacity and fulfill their mission as well as preserve their mission. So that's been really a very interesting process. I've been doing a ton of reading and educating myself on those resources because there's a lot to it. And I've also been working with some partners across the state with an extension and kind of learning from them because I've run into people who've been doing this for 20 plus years and they are just a wealth of knowledge. So again, that goes back to the great thing about extension is that people are willing to share those resources and we have a lot of really talented people around the state. You can go to the next one. So tying it back all together, you can see on this slide how my work broadly applies to the framework that I was talking about to really engage that community participation and increase civic health. And just to tie it back to the beginning, the whole goal of this is to build strong and resilient communities who are strong and people feel like they belong and that they participate and feel safe. One thing that I've learned in my LTE role in the last few months is that community development work can sometimes take time, depending on what the effort is, because we are trying to tackle very complex issues. But everything is worthwhile because each little step is a step closer to helping build those strong communities. So I do believe that those things are really worthwhile and worth investing in. And just building that bridge and making us stronger over time. We can go to the next slide. I did want to share an upcoming event that talks about everything that I just went over as far as belonging in organizations and community. This is going to be, I believe, a 6-week series put on by my colleague from Fond du Lac County. And it goes from January 17th to February 21st. The cost, I believe, is $75, but this is really a good course to take for nonprofit organizations and community groups to strengthen their resilience, as well as better position them to fulfill and preserve their mission and help people feel like you belong, help people feel like they belong in the organization so that they can effectively serve their audience. So that is what I have. And I would take any questions and or comments right now. Otherwise, you are welcome to email, call me, stop in my office if you have any questions.
I missed your nonprofit meeting. I think the girls said something.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yes,
I know it was at the library. I think it was November 4th or 3rd, I forgot.
it was October 3rd.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
So you were gonna make it anyway, Ken.
I forgot to leave. I need to come off on that hunting season. Now we're halfway through December.
I know, it's flying by too fast.
That's how-
No, I had plans on going, but the girls were playing volleyball. I think it was in Common Falls that night.
Well, depending on what happens, I can offer it again.
How many nonprofits showed interest?
And so for that program, I had 4 signups and I had 1 group come. It was the BA here locally. The Badger Amateur Basketball Association.
Baseball.
Baseball, what did I say?
Yeah,
Basketball.
It's okay.
Don't let Mr. Kevin here.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I know, that's why I
Yeah.
definitely baseball. I
didn't know there was a basketball association.
Well,
But it's still, it's a lot to become nonprofit.
Mhm.
And I don't think people realize. I remember when the state apportioned, it took us almost a year,
Does take a lot of time.
but that was around 900 members. So I mean, there's a lot of.
You know, a lot of farmers used to say that they were nonprofits, you know, just that. So,
They should work out and find out what nonprofit is.
I just want to give a compliment to Amy. I have been a part of some of her programming that she's done. I sit on the Waupaca, formerly known as Living the Waupaca Way. We are in the process of applying for that 501c3. And as it's been mentioned multiple times, it's quite the process, and we've done a lot of learning together, and it's been very helpful. So thank you, Amy, for what you're doing in your short-term role. You've been a key player in a lot of things in this community, so happy to help.
And I think your presentation tied things together very nice.
Thank you.
You thinking about applying?
I'm considering it.
And Ken, that was an answer, especially that diagram, that's what the position focus is going to be. Granted, there's always those other pieces that connect it all together.
See, my original point was, I don't know what the special meeting they were supposed to have, I don't know if you ever did have, what they expected. All of this. All right, they were supposed to get together and they're supposed to meet once a year. See if who's ever in that position is doing what they want, but there was supposed to be some clarity there. On what the position was supposed to be.
And I utilized this group to help determine that clarity.
Yeah, but they were supposed to.
Understood.
The common board was not, I shouldn't say the whole common board.
Right.
And maybe it was the executives, I don't know,
I'm not sure which.
But
We know who you
what
are.
you're finding.
No, and-
You know who it
Right.
went.
Yep, and I did I attended the Human Relations Committee meeting to provide an update, and we're all in a good spot.
Okay,
Yes.
Yeah, and if there's ever any clarity needed, like she said, her office is open and her, email or phone, and that presentation was beautifully done, so that could be given in another scenario too.
okay, very nice. Good job, Amy.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go on to outreach educator program reminders and announcements for the staff.
I had just shared in the report that you received, we have our, all of our recognition events were in November, so, we had a very large group at, awards night at the fairgrounds in the pavilion building. Probably about 150 people, and then our leaders banquet, we had more than we've had like in the last 10 years. We had over 100 people at our leaders banquet. So just some great opportunities to recognize both the youth in the program and the adults that support the program. And we will have officer training coming up the end of this month, and also working on winter camp. We offer a winter camp opportunity for youth in grades 7 and above. That is held at Spencer Lake here in Waupaca, and it's 8 counties that will be coming together. I'm the lead person this year, and that will rotate each year with those counties, but that is coming up in early February. Additional opportunities coming.
And I would love to share that we successfully distributed 200 Thanksgiving food bundles across the county around or just the week of Thanksgiving. And that was coordinated through Waupaca and the Waupaca County Hunger Network. And Christy and myself with a bunch of partners that we work with through our roles in Foodwise. Made those connections to individuals that work with people who could use a little extra help, and we successfully distributed 200 bundles, which was a lot of work, but very rewarding and very, or just something that we look forward to continuing to be able to do. And then I have been working in the Clintonville community, just educating on the opportunity for EBT at the farmers market, using food share at the farmers market. I presented to the Rotary Club last week, Monday. That was very well received. And again, just another opportunity to educate what that could do for the community overall. So that's been very exciting and just a wonderful opportunity to build more relationships in the Clintonville community. And I am also working very closely with the Manawa Elementary, and they have successfully implemented a little free food pantry within their school. Their numbers of families and kiddos who utilize free and reduced lunch is touching really close to 70%. So the food pantry is essential in that community, within the school, I should say. The food pantry in town is very limited hours, and very challenging for individuals to get to with the barrier of transportation. So if they're picking up their child at school or their child takes a bus home, they're able to bring home a commodity of food, which has been just incredible to watch the process of that being implemented.
Was that the only school you're working with right now on that, or?
For that particular project, yes. I would love to see that in every school that I'm working in, because the the qualification of us working in the school is that 50% or more of the students receive free and reduced lunch. So we know that there's a need in any of the schools that we're working in.
New London.
I work with Lincoln.
Yeah,
in London.
Lincoln, yeah.
Yes, and Kirk and I and Christy have a really good relationship, and we We love throwing ideas at him. Right now, we have him distributing what we call harvest of the month. So they highlight a produce item each month. And he walks around with a cart and a chef's hat and he distributes samples to his students. It's pretty incredible, goes the extra mile for his students. So, yeah.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Haley. I could see firsthand how much work they really put into that food bundle distribution. They were running their tails off, and it takes a village, truly. So great job.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So Christmas, you're not doing Christmas.
Oh my gosh, so many people have asked.
Give you a chance to breathe.
We're working towards Thanksgiving already for next year. In fact, I just want to put a plug out there that we are trying to operate it just a little bit different and not tap into the community as much as far as donations. We're looking to have it be more sustainable through grant opportunities. So if anyone knows of any grants that could go toward that particular project, send them my way.
Talk to Brian Huss, he's good at finding grants.
Probably just a little bit different
Yeah.
purpose for the program.
Okay, if nobody has anything else, looks like our next meeting is scheduled for January 22nd of 2024. So have a motion to adjourn.
Most of it.
We are adjourned.
See you guys next year.
Bye, Lila.
Bye, Lila.
Thanks. You gotta quiet it down a little bit though.